Hello YouTube. So today we're going to be flipping the manifold on my 9924 valve. Yeah, ignore that. So we're going to flip the manifold over. You got that nut on there to get this bracket off, and then you got to loosen these. Take this thing off so that way you can get a little more play out of the lines. Take your oil lines off and take the bolts off the turbo, and you're gonna do all the manifold bolts, all that fun stuff. Flip her over, put it back together. You may have to push your transmission dipstick over. I had to do that because last time I flipped it up, it wasn't gonna work because the dipstick was right where the exhaust was gonna come out. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, and I'll be periodically pausing, and I'll show you guys each step along the way. But right now I'm gonna pause and gather everything I need, and then we'll get going again. Alright, so first thing you want to do is take your oil supply line off. Now it's slightly smaller than this, but I managed to make it work with a 7/8. I didn't want to go back and grab something else. Yours might be pretty tight, but I've had this on and off recently, so I'm just gonna take this and move it out of the way somewhere. Then you're gonna have to take your intercooler pipe off. It's probably easiest to take it off here. If you take it off here, it's a pain in the ass to get it to slide back in. So I like to take it off here. So I'm gonna pause and take that off. Alright, so that's off. You don't have to take it all the way off, but I did because I need a new one. It's stripped. Threads are stripped. But I do want to say is that this is 11 mil. Do not try and use any other size. You will mess it up. It is an 11 millimeter socket, a deep socket. You will mess it up. I've done it. Well, we got that off. We're gonna take our return line off. Yes, I know it's not factory, but I've been messing around here, so that's what I had set up right now. I'm just gonna undo one of these hose clamps here, and that way when I go pull the turbo off, it'll slide out nice. And then we'll start working at the manifold bolts. And I'm gonna get this out of the way here. Alright, we got the hose clamp loose now. We're gonna start working at these, and I believe they are 15 if I can remember correctly. Yes, they are 15. So I'm gonna work at those, and I will show you when it's done. Getting the turbo off. Alright, so I was just doing this bottom one here, and it works best if you come up to the bottom with an extension like so to get onto there. And then the one on this side is kind of a pain in the ass. You can't even see it back in there. You kind of got to use a wrench to get on that. You can't really use a socket. So that really sucks. But we'll get her done. Alright, so that's off. Fought me a little bit, but just what I was talking about, the aftermarket custom return line. I had to cut the stock one. Yeah, it just gives me some adjustment, I guess. So now we're gonna start taking all these manifold bolts out. And the important thing is, don't lose these gaskets. you start taking the bolts out and things start moving around. Next thing you know, you got a gasket drop down there. It ends up on the ground somewhere. Just be careful. Make sure you got a hold of it before you take the final bolt out. And there's some decent weight there, so make sure you're ready to grab it when you do get the final bolt out of the manifold. Some of them are pretty tricky to get to. That's also why I say loosen these up or take this bracket off right all together. It makes it so you can move these around a little more, because some of the bottom ones are a real pain. Well, we'll get started on it here and show you along the way, I guess. Alright, so I just got all the bolts out, and these are those gaskets I was talking about, those metal gaskets. They like to wander on you when you're taking this off, so be careful not to lose any. And I just want to show everybody, anybody that's never done this before, the manifold bolts. So you have a bolt and then you got this, I believe it's cast sleeve. It slides over. Yeah, so you want to make sure that when you're taking them off, you're not going like that and then all of a sudden the sleeve falls and you can't find the sleeve, which happened to me actually just now. It was down there while I was taking this apart. So got the bolts up. I should be able to take this off now. So there it is. Hold on here. It's the manifold. So what we're going to do is we're just going to flip it upside down. Just like that. Some of you may ask, now why would you flip it upside down? Well, with the other way, this angle is going down. The turbo sits down here normally. So if you want to run a compound turbo setup, so 2 turbos, then the best way to do it is to flip this up, upside down, this up. Okay, you raise your stock turbo. It gives you room to put the other one down there, which you guys saw earlier in the video. I had the other one setting down there just to see how it looked. So yeah, that's the whole goal of all this, is to be able to run a compound setup. Alright, so I'm gonna get the gaskets and start threading some bolts in, and then I'll show you guys when it's back together. Well, the manifold. Alright, so I was in the process here of putting the bolts back in loosely by hand. I just want to go over this one. This is the only one that is like this. Okay? And it has to go here, because that bracket slides over the end of this, and then there's a nut that goes on top of that. It's a different size nut. The nut's like a 15, and these are 13, by the way, or half an inch. Don't use any other size because you will mess them up. And these are a little on the pricey side to replace. Also, be careful when you're putting these in. Make sure they're going in straight. Don't cross thread them. Don't strip it, because you know if you strip one of these holes in the head, that's not a fun job. It could be an expensive one too if you don't know how to do it yourself. So just be careful as you're doing everything. Take your time. It's not a competition. Shit's expensive on these trucks. Damn dogs. Alright, so I'm going to resume installation here. And I'll show you guys when it's all tightened up. And then we'll go and put the turbo back on and see how everything's going to line up. I have a feeling I'm going to have to push this over further, but we'll see. Okay, manifold's on, tightened down. What I like to do, because you may be wondering what the torque sequence is or the torque spec, I like to start at the back one back in here. Just the back top one, front bottom one, second one, second bottom one, and so on. I just do a back and forth kind of thing. But at the start, I just go top, bottom, snug them up. And then when I'm actually tightening them down, I just go back and forth, you know, top and bottom. And I find that works. There is a proper torque sequence, but I can't remember it. And I'm pretty sure the torque spec's only like 45 or 55 foot-pounds or something. So, just good and snug. If you really want to, get your torque wrench out, look the spec up. But I've never had any issues, and I've had it off multiple times. I've also reused the gaskets every time, and I don't have any leaks. So, you don't need to go out and spend like, I think it's like $50 or $60 on new gaskets. Alright, so now that that's on, we're gonna grab the other turbo. This is gonna be the compound, secondary one. But we're gonna put the stock one back on. I'm gonna need a gasket. But I reuse this gasket too. I've never had any leaks or nothing. So I believe last time the problem I had was that, hold on a sec here, was that when I go to put a turbo on, see there's two studs here and there's two studs on the turbo, or on the manifold, sorry. So when I go to put this on now, the two studs are going to hit. Which means I'm going to take the studs out of the turbo. And then run a nut and a bolt on the bottom here. So I guess that's what I'm going to do now, is take the studs out. Some kind of ice. So yeah, and then also for the secondary turbo, there's the return line here. You see it goes down into the block. Well, there's a second spot for one right there. So I clear all that off, and then I gotta put the second tube in there. I'm probably gonna do that right now while everything's all nice and open. So the studs shouldn't be too bad. Just get yourself a pair of good vice grips, or small pipe wrench works good too. Get right on here, and they should wind out okay. Fingers crossed. After all that's done, then it should just slide on and bolt up, and hopefully we won't have any issues with where the exhaust is coming out. If not, we'll just have to reroute some stuff. So that's the plan, and I'll take the studs out first and show you guys how that goes, and then we'll do that. Pop that plug out and put the new return line in. So, yeah. Alright, so now that I got these out, which I might add was not exactly the funnest thing. One came out pretty easy, the other one gave me a little bit of a hassle. So now I'm gonna have this dilemma: threaded hole, not threaded hole. We need this to be the not threaded hole now, and this to be the threaded hole, but we can work with this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill this out to about that size. And then we're just going to have to run a nut and bolt on here instead of having a stud. So the only studs will be on the manifold itself. Now another issue I saw was that, bear with me for a second here. Okay, this is the issue I have now. That's where the turbo wants to sit. So, you think, okay, not a big deal, you rotate the housings, right? Wrong. With that wastegate the way it is, you can't rotate just the intake housing. So, that and the center housing has to be rotated because these have to be straight up and down. So I'm going to take the turbo apart now and free up the housing so I can play with where I need them to be. And the wastegate's going to have to come off for now. I'm probably going to end up not running a wastegate anyways. Because it'll help that bigger turbo spool up. So you probably have to wire this wide open. Well, this wastegate, so you want the wastegate open. So right off the bat, the big turbo is getting more air. So to prevent lag. Probably help with the bottom end. Might lose a little on the top end. Don't know. Have to play with it, open or close, but I'm probably not going to be able to run a wastegate. So, that's the plan. I'll take this turbo apart now. And we'll go from there, I guess. Alright, so I'll take this bad boy apart. Anybody's never done it. 2 bolts there for the wastegate. And a little C retaining clip. Come on, focus up, phone. Right there. Once get wastegate off, probably gonna leave this on because I had to make my own gasket, as you can see. The intake housing is pretty easy. Little clamp here, you know what you want to call it, like a pressure clamp. So you just squeeze that, get the clamp out. This should come off pretty easy. This side's a little more difficult, and you got bolts. You're gonna take all of them out. All 4 of them, it looks like. And in order to get that one looks like it's going to be fun. But it doesn't look like you have to take that one out all the way. As you can see, it's split there. So the retaining piece looks like it's in 2 halves. So which should make this pretty easy, as long as they come out okay and don't snap. Hardest part is going to be separating the exhaust housing from the turbine, because I can guarantee you this turbo has never been apart. And it has 375,000 kilometers on it, so still no shaft play. Very, very little. So that's why I'm not rebuilding it. Since we have everything full freed up, then we'll resume installation. And while I have this off, I'm probably going to take it inside and drill those out. That way I don't have to worry about wrecking anything else. But we'll go through that step by step. I'll show you guys each step of the way. Okay, so wastegate is off. Here it is. I have a feeling this was off once before because the 2 bolts are 2 different sizes. One had a washer, one didn't. Now, one thing I want to say is, obviously you got to take this off too, which is on right there. That hose clamp. One thing I want to say is though, when you take that little guy off of here, and you take a screwdriver and pop that off, just be careful because this thing is spring-loaded. So when I popped it off, it shot closed quite fast. So just wash yourself. And we're just going to put these back on here so we don't lose them in case we do end up remounting the wastegate at some point. And we're going to put, I would recommend putting the C-clamp clip back on there as well. And next we're going to take off the compressor housing. and I'll show you guys how that goes after. Alright, we got this off, the snap ring, which sits in this little groove in here. I just want to say that it fought me a little bit of a pain in the ass. I squeezed the snap ring and only one side would move, so you gotta really work it a little bit with a screwdriver. But when you do get it, it will like pop a little bit at you, so that's why it's called a snap ring. So we're just gonna kind of, sorry, I'm a little low over here. There we go. So that's your snap ring. There's 2 spots for snap ring pliers. 2 holes there, or you can just use a pair of ice grips like I did. Now that we got that up, you really want to be careful because, yeah, there is a little couple nicks in here. Because if you'd bend one of these or take a little chunk out, it throws it out of balance. These are very, very precisely balanced to maximize airflow. So if you, while it's exposed like this, you want to be extremely careful not to let anything hit it, not to drop it, not to flip it up on its end, you know. Just be careful with it, because these are expensive. Just the wheel is like $60. Alright, so now we're going to loosen these bolts off, take those 2 out, and get that little retaining bracket out of there, and hopefully the back slides off just as easy. Not likely though, so probably gonna have to give it a little persuasion. Alright, I'll show you when it's done. Alright, so we got these off, the little retaining brackets, and the bolts actually aren't that big, so they really shouldn't be stuck in there. I had the 13 mil on it, wrench, because you can't really get a socket in there. And I only had to give a couple taps with the hammer to get the nut started. And you can leave these 2 in, because they just join the 2 half pieces. They sit here in the grooves. You only really have to take out the other 2. Yeah, that's pretty rusted, the seam. I'll be amazed if it comes apart easy. But we'll give it a shot here, and I'll show you guys when it's done. Again, be careful with your wheel. Expensive piece. Not to mention, your regular parts store probably won't have one. So you probably have to wait a week to order one. But we're going to be careful so that way that doesn't happen. So, I'm going to try and separate these 2 now. And, yeah, let you know how it goes. Okay, so we're in a very delicate situation right here. I've been just hitting it and getting it loose, right? Trying to break it free. And I have it free. As you can see, maybe not, as I'm spinning, this doesn't want to spin now. So we're actually getting hung up on something, and I can't separate them completely, but because it's spinning, I might want to maybe I should take these out the rest of the way. I've never had one apart, so this is a learning curve as much as for you guys. I just thought maybe someone would want to watch me screw up before they try and screw up. Might be just holding up on these. I don't know. Because I did want to get the exhaust housing off, that way I could drill out those holes. It is loose now, and I can rotate it. I just don't know why it doesn't want to come out. Well, I'm going to hit it a couple more times here, and I'll show you guys what happens. Alright, so I hit it a couple more times, nothing happened, it came off. So, when you get to that point, you're close. Oh, look at all the dust coming out of there. So it probably is good to take it apart and just clean it up. If you're not rebuilding it, just check out the fins, you know, make sure nothing's majorly screwed up. They all look okay. A little bit of rubbing, but they all look okay. Yeah, that sound you're hearing is the best shield, the heat shield here. So now that that's all separated, I got this piece. We can take it up, drill it out, and then now that we have the turbo separated, we're actually in a nice and easy way of setting this up. So after I drill this out, I can put just this housing on, get it in there, see what all needs to be moved out of the way for the exhaust, if anything, and then I can put the cartridge in, which is the centerpiece with the turbines, and then I can line up my intake side, and you know, it's just, you know, I can do it in 3 stages now instead of having the whole turbo on there. And with the cartridge on, you can see what you're gonna have to do with the return line. Hopefully not a whole lot, and the feed line should be fine. Alright, so I'm going to take this up now and drill out these holes. Alright, so it took a couple trips here, but we ended up getting her. Drilled them out, as you can see. And as you can see, heater core hose is in the way. What I'm probably going to do is, I was thinking about cutting it here and running that rubber down to here, but I'm afraid that's going to be too close to the manifold and it's going to heat up. So I'm probably going to end up doing is taking that whole line off and trying to bend this piece straight. That way I can get it going that way a little more. The only reason it's close to the manifold is to heat the coolant up more as it goes into the heater core. But I'm not really going to be driving this in the winter anymore. Hence why it's parked right now. So I might even just take that metal piece out, whatever, and run a hose down here somewhere and then back up the firewall. I don't know, I'll figure it out, not too concerned. It's all fixable, just like the dipstick. I could probably move that over a little bit more. Looks good up there, that's for sure. Oh, another thing I found out, my wastegate was actually seized shut. I went to move it and it was just right seized. So this whole time I'm driving around with a seized up wastegate. Makes a lot of sense. So like I said, I'm probably gonna play with it. I'll probably have it open, try it, and I'll try it closed, half open, you know. I'll have to play with it, see what gives me the most boost on my boost gauge. That'll be another video. I'll be making up my own boost gauge with a $13 Princess Auto pressure gauge, and we'll just tap it in the back of the intake horn here. But that'll be another video. This one's already about 25 minutes long. So now that that's on there, I can get those bolts on, and I'll have to get a nut and a bolt, some washers for that one from the garage. And while I was rooting around my stuff, I found another one of these clamps, so I don't have to buy one. So that's a plus. Yeah, that does lift up though. Okay. I think that should reach. We don't even have to modify that probably. That should probably reach up high enough, I think. If not, no big deal. We'll make it work. Piece by piece, right? What the fuck? Hercules, what do you have? Oh, it's a ball. Thought he had a bird again. Okay, back. What's next? Right, like I said, I want to put that in, which is right here. It's this what I'm talking about, right? This piece goes into your block, where that plug is right now. And that's what's over here. And then your rubber line goes on there. You see that one down there? That's that rubber line. And you can see where it goes into the block right down there. So that's going to be that one now. And that'll be for the big turbo return line. And you're thinking, where does the supply line go? Well, you take this fitting out. And I'm going to have to take it in somewhere. Faka fasteners maybe, or somewhere that does fasteners and stuff, and get them to get me a fitting that's like this one. They'll adapt to oil line to it. That's at a later date. We're nowhere near that. We got a lot of stuff to do before that. I gotta make up some brackets for the second turbo. Mounting brackets. There's a lot of stuff to do. You're gonna have to route a pipe from here into the big one, and then a pipe from the big one that comes up into the small one. It's gonna be fun, but it'll be worth it, hopefully. So I'm probably gonna do that right now. Like I said, while it's wide open. So I'm gonna pause it, and then I'll show you guys what I'm doing to get it out. Alright, so basically, what you need to do, let's see if I can set this up down here so you can watch me. There we go. Is, you don't want to scrape all this shit out of here first. I don't know why there's so much stuff in here. Yeah, basically you're just going to take a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and you really want to clean this out, because once you pop that cap out, and you really gotta be careful, but once you pop the cap out, all that shit's gonna go down into your oil if you don't. I mean, that's what we have filters for, but I don't know about you. I don't really like the idea of dirt being in my oil. Which has to be changed anyways. Alright, so I've seen this on a video that Cummins Diesel did. They basically just take a flathead screwdriver, hit it with a hammer on the edge like so. You hit it a couple times and it should pop out. Now if you have a 12 valve, it don't have this, so you have to take your pan off, drill a hole, put a fitting in it, braze it up. You know, it's a lot more work. So it's nice that these 24 valves have the extra space for it. Okay, see that? I almost pushed it down into the pan. Oh, which I really don't want it to. Really gotta be careful here. That puppy goes down in there. She can be in there for a while. Alright, now that I have it vertical, being the edges facing towards me, as you can see, probably gonna run to the garage and grab a pair of needle nose pliers to eliminate any risk of it falling in. I have a pair of vice grips with me. I'm going to try and get these in here, but I don't think it'll work out. No. Alright, so I'm going to pause you guys here, and I might have one in here. No, I don't have a pair in here. gotta clean this thing out. Alright, so I'm gonna run up to the garage, grab a pair of needle nose, so that way it doesn't fall in there. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so apparently my needle nose grew legs and disappeared. So I just got these, hopefully these work. I highly recommend using a pair of needle nose vice grips, being as you're probably going to have to pull on this pretty good, and you don't really want to accidentally let go. A little bit of twist motion. You just gotta work it back and forth, you know, because it's probably never been out since it was put in. And bang. There it is. That's just a little cap. Now we're going to take our other piece, which is already all nice cleaned up the end here. When I saw this, I was surprised there was no O-ring on or nothing, but then I'm like, well, I guess so, because there's only oil going in and no oil coming out, so I guess you don't really need a... So it's the same thing as taking it out, basically. You just work it in there. Until that happens. Give me a little bit of a hard time. So, you may have to give it a little tap with a hammer. That's probably not as big as this. But you get the idea. You just work it back and forth until it goes in. A little bit of lube probably wouldn't hurt. Yeah, I can't even rotate it now. So you should really make sure to try and put it in the right way. And seeing now how that's going to sit, this might be an issue. It's leaving me kind of a sharp angle to come out this way, but it might be alright. I don't really want to try and bend this. Yeah, bend it, because it's the only one I got. And I had a hard time getting possession of it. Alright, so I'm going to fight with that, and I'll show you guys when it's in. Alright, so I somewhat got it in there. I ended up having to put vice grips on it, which I really didn't want to do, but I'm just kind of tapping it in. As you can see, it's not quite seated flush. So I'm probably going to climb underneath the truck at some point and get it in there the rest of the way, but for now, it's in there. And like I said, some rubber hose should work fine, as long as it's oil resistant. Just need to get up to the new turbo. So that's in. I really should tackle that heater core line issue next. As much as I don't want to, might just take it off for now. And then kind of figure out where to go after this is done. So I think I'm just gonna take it off right now and go from there.